Welcome back to another episode of the Student Athlete Sessions. Today, we are joined by University of Rochester standout current pro over in Israel with Maccabi Tel Aviv, John DiBartolomeo. Thanks for joining, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, Glad to get your time here ahead of a busy season underway in a couple weeks here. Um, by my count, it's your 12th pro season. Is that right? Are we 12 or 13?
I think I'll be going into my 13th, I think. I was a 2013 alum.
There you go. So
Yeah.
walk the listeners through what's going on, I guess, in prep for the preseason and what a pro schedule looks like.
I mean, it's really we got into Israel at the end of August. Kind of hit the ground running with preseason. Right now we're in the middle of our preseason cup tournament, it's called. Semifinal tomorrow against Jerusalem. And then over the weekend, we'll take off for Montenegro to start our Euroleague season. We're going to play against Anadolu Efes in Montenegro on Tuesday, and then it's a double week to start out. So again, from there we go Friday in Belgrade, and we have a home game against Paris, I believe. It's really
Well,
one game at a time, one week at a time here. You can't look too far forward. It's 2 or 3 games every week right now.
that's understandable. I mean, I'm in awe as someone who just played 4 years of college and my body was ready to give up after that. How do you maintain, uh, you know, after this long of a run?
Um, I mean, yeah, it's a balancing act, a lot of trial and error, see what works for you, see what doesn't. I think I just do my best to take care of my body. Not just physically but mentally. The on the court and off the court stuff is has been of equal importance to me as I've gotten later in my career. Taking care of the little things, the recovery, the mental aspect. I think all that is really key to not only playing for so long, but also the one of the big difference of playing overseas is instead of playing 4 or 5 months, I think it is in college, we have 10 month season to stay that locked in and focused throughout what I view as a marathon is challenging.
hmm Yeah, what's one thing that you like can really point to say that has made a world of difference for you, either physically or mentally?
I mean, it's really it's I mean I do think it's like a complete package. Like it is such a grind, playing like I said for 10 months, playing so many years and playing away from home, from your family, from what you know. For me, I saw like a dramatic shift in my game when I started taking like the my off court approach more professionally, with meditations, with morning routines, controlling the little things in my day to ensure that um I was taking care of everything I could, that was in my control. And it's one of those lessons I got at the U of R. Coach Foucault was always preaching control the controllables. And I hear myself, saying that not only to myself but to my teammates these days, especially um, with the situation of Maccabi's been in the last couple of years without, there's been we can't play home games here in the Euroleague. We're doing a lot of traveling. We're at a disadvantage in a lot of aspects. So it's one of those things that I have to constantly remind ourselves, and that is really really important.
hmm Definitely. Probably one of those pieces of wisdom too, that when you're like 20 years old, your coach says it and you roll your eyes a little bit. And then 10 years down the road, you have the benefit of
Yeah,
some hindsight and you can really appreciate the message he was sharing.
absolutely. I
Um,
mean, it's so simple yet so effective. When you really do it and you stack. It's a habit, and you become more disciplined in everything that you do, and it translates to on the court, off the court stuff.
yeah. Yeah. Speaking of discipline, I think I found this quote earlier. Coach Flickerty, who is still the coach at Rochester, uh,
Yes.
called you, let's see, truly special player for us at Rochester. Simply the hardest working and most dedicated player I've ever coached, and his humility drives him. He's created a work ethic that is unmatched. When you look back at that time at Rochester, obviously, I'd love to get into the details, but what stands out, like, you know, 13 years down the road from graduating, and what do you still remember other than control the controllables?
At Rochester, I mean, you know, college basketball was always kind of a dream of mine. I never really thought past college. Like growing up, I was really excited and I was putting in work. I loved basketball, but it was also like that goal to play college basketball. Just it seemed like the most. I never had really a school team growing up, so when I got to high school, I was ecstatic, and then when I got to college, I was like, this is the prime time. But what I remember most about the U of R was just my hanging with my teammates. And my teammates were my best friends. They're a large reason for my success on the court. And I think, as a person, I grew a lot at the University of Rochester. Like those things I talked about, the on the court, off the court, building good habits, being, kind of a better person, came from the people I was around. I was surrounded by great people at the U of R, um, and really put me in a position to be successful and have this opportunity to go abroad and play professional basketball, which is again something I never thought I would have.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm curious about your recruiting process because you go on to these great heights at U of R, and obviously you've had unbelievable professional success. You were born in New York City. You grew up in Westport, Connecticut, and you went to Staples High School, which I only know
Yeah,
because I had a teammate, Mike Argosh, who played there.
yeah, I
Uh,
know, Mike.
and not necessarily a place that people would say is like a basketball mecca, maybe, but
No,
like
not a basketball hub for sure.
so
Yeah,
what did your recruiting process look like from
I mean,
Staples?
how you might assume, I didn't get too much interest. Staples, as you said, not known for its basketball. When I got to Staples my freshman year, is like the goal was to make states, which was you needed, I think, 8 wins out of like 20, and we had like a countdown to try to get to those 8 wins, and we hadn't done it in a couple of years. So we didn't have the most successful program. They've done a great job now. They have new coaches there now who are great and kind of they've shifted the program and they've gotten very strong in Connecticut basketball. But in terms of my recruiting, I had a couple schools that were very aggressive with me um, early on, but it came down to like three schools that really wanted me that I had some interest in as well. It was the Union, Dickinson, and the University of Rochester. So it's not like I had this long list of places. It's not like I took too many visits. Um, I visited those schools, and when I got to the campus on Rochester, it was over for me. I knew I wanted to go there. I walked around the campus. I don't know if it's intuition. You just get this feeling like this is how I saw college looking like. Then again, I visited in March. It was like a beautiful spring day. I probably got not the most accurate representation of the Rochester climate. But then I walked into the gym and the Palestra I immediately fell in love with. And in terms of the three schools I was looking at, they seemed to be they had the highest expectations of their team, I felt, and they took basketball, very, very seriously. And it was a place that I could see myself.
Hmm. Yeah, I want to touch on something you said, which is like schools were pursuing you aggressively, but you knew three were serious about you. Like, what were those signs that Dickinson, U of R, and then you said the other one was Union were showing you that made you feel that way?
They were just the most in contact with me constantly, checking in, inviting me out for visits. Other than that, I think I took a visit to like Fairleigh Dickinson, and I think that's what it's called. And I just got a sense from me and the coach that he wasn't that interested. Even some of the schools around me weren't. I tried to get some offers from like D2s and D1s in the Connecticut area, and nothing was able to materialize there. So when it came down to it, Rochester had the best balance of academics and basketball that I was looking for. You know, Other than that, yeah, it was just, the constant communication and constant, pressure to get me out there and that they wanted me. I felt wanted and I felt needed.
Hmm. Yeah, and then getting on campus, like you said, is such a game changer to actually see the place in person. And maybe
Yeah.
maybe a good takeaway for recruits who are listening to this, like if you're going to a school and in the Northeast or in maybe the upper Midwest, like Minnesota, don't go in April or late
Yeah,
March when it's spring.
yeah, I did not know what I like. I heard Rochester didn't have the greatest weather, and then I went there and it was absolutely beautiful. And then I had 4 years there where it didn't see the sun too much. Still, I wouldn't trade my Rochester experience for
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, and when I went to Rochester, I hung out with the team. I went to lunch with them, and it was a group of guys that I could see myself hanging out with. It seemed like it would be, it'd be fun to be there, and it'd be easy transition for me coming from high school, which, for me going to new places and adapting is not always the easiest, and I could see myself there, more so than in the other places.
mm, yeah. And something clicked because from the start, you started every game your freshman year. You were rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Um, you really jumped in. Like, what was it about? Like, did you feel like that was your expectation, or was there a level up that you were playing that was new for you?
No, like I knew Rochester had great teams. They had a high level. I knew that they had a junior point guard coming back. So I expected to kind of play behind him my first 2 years and kind of get my shot as an upperclassman, much like my high school career had went. I didn't really play
Yeah.
varsity minutes until I was an upperclassman. I was pretty close with the assistant that recruited me at Rochester, Jim Driggs. He was also a Connecticut guy. And he told me kind of early on in practices that if I kind of took responsibility, if I didn't turn the ball over and I made my free throws, I had a chance to really contribute and play this season. And I did my best to fulfill those two things. And kind of one thing led to another, and I ended up having this big role as a freshman that I was definitely not expecting. I didn't know I was going to be a starter until first game. Coach Neer was the coach at the time, was very old school like that. Like he didn't kind of give anything away. And then I think it was first scrimmage, he told me to sit down as a starter, and that's when I knew I was, going to be one.
Yeah. So Coach Flickerty came in midway through your career. Is that right?
Yeah, he after my freshman year, Coach Neer left, and Coach Flickerty came in, and the whole team was completely different. We lost my freshman year. I want to say we had close to like 18 players on the team. The freshman class, I don't remember how many of us were. I think there was like 8 of us. And then my sophomore year, everyone kind of had transferred or left or decided not to stay with basketball. I think my class went from like 8 to like 3 or 4, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a, super common thing at the D3 level, but it definitely happens where like, I think my class was 4 and it got cut to just me at one point when we had a new coach come in. And um, yeah, but I'm sure those guys who stuck around are still some of your best friends to this day, like, or
My best friends,
yeah. So
my best friends.
yeah. So what else at Rochester were you getting up to? Obviously, you go on to have this great career, all UAA first team, D3 All American, D3 Player of the Year. What was your major? Like, what were you doing when you weren't on the court with some of those guys?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. We just, hanging out, nothing much. Again, in Rochester, you're staying inside, for the most part. If you get any little bit of sun, you try to do something that's outdoors just to be outside. Um, I really don't even know what we did with all our time, but a lot of hanging out. We took our schoolwork also seriously. Played video games, the nothing
No,
too normal things. Nothing too extraordinary. But I think like I said, I was surrounded by people with good habits that rubbed off on me, and they helped me get into the library and get into the gym for the extra work, and a lot of like that work ethic and humility Coach Kirsty talks about. I got from my surroundings and my environment, and the people I was with.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think in the UAA, which is a conference that Rochester plays in, you guys are flying to games usually you play what, like a Friday, Sunday schedule.
Yeah, Friday, Sunday.
Yeah. And so there's no time really to mess around with school, which I know U of R has pretty serious academics. So that
Hmm.
that kind of like teammate we'll call it accountability to keep you focused, I'm sure was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, a lot of the habits that I have now came from me in college, being with those guys. Those guys were my roommates and stuff like that, and that definitely rubbed off on me. I worked harder in school and college than I did in high school by far.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I am, I'm wondering. I know you said in high school you were like, college is going to be the big time, like that's the goal. At what point did you did someone tell you, or did you kind of have this realization in when you're at Rochester that like, well, maybe a pro career could be a thing?
Yeah, so my Coach Frecurci and also Coach Duran, who was the assistant at the time, who I did a lot of my individuals with when I was a junior and a senior, and really started to take another step in my game. He had played like professionally in Germany. I mean, he said it was professionally, but he said like it wasn't for any real money. He had a second job, and that's kind of what I expected my experience to be because that's what I knew of. They started talking to me like my junior, senior, not even junior, more so senior year about having the opportunity, and then towards the end of my senior year or after, I had a very good season, and all these accolades kind of started rolling in after the season, which just kind of helps your resume when you're pitching them to people.
Mhm.
And I received an offer from some agent in Germany to play third division Germany, and I was like, all right, so now that was when the kind of time I was like, all right, I have a good feeling that I can. I mean, again, it was for a couple €100 a month, and I would be coaching kids part time to have a little bit more money. But that's when I realized, it's a possibility to play some sort of basketball after school, which is what I wanted. I never studied abroad. I was like, this is an opportunity to play and to be abroad and have a new experience. Plus, I had no idea what I wanted to do for work, so I can at least delay. I can at least delay that for a little bit and play it off like I wanted to do something. This amazing experience.
Yeah, yeah. But you end up signing a 3-year deal, which is pretty unusual from what I've heard, even for like top level clubs. You signed with Zaragoza in Spain. Uh,
Yeah.
how did you land on a 3-year deal, and why Spain?
Yes, yeah. So everything happened kind of fast that spring and summer. I started to get this taste that I could get an opportunity overseas. I ended up hiring an agent. There was a kid from New Canaan, Connecticut, who went to Bowdoin, also D3 guy, who was having some success overseas. So I reached out to him, asked him,
Will Hanley?
Will Hanley, asked him what he did, who he used, blah blah blah, and he hooked me up with his agent, Emilio Duran and FJ Martin. And they, because they specialize in Spain. And I was like, all right, if I go anywhere, I want to go to Spain. I heard that's the best basketball in Europe, and I'll start low, and it'll be easier to work my way up through the best league than to be in some league that's maybe not as competitive. And then you put up these big numbers, but guys, people don't take it as not they don't take it as seriously, but it doesn't mean as much.
Right.
Um, so they again, being a D3 guy, it's kind of hard to get your foot in the door, especially being, kind of undersized point guard. So my agent recommended I go to Spain it was pretty much a showcase camp. And from everyone that I had spoken to, they told me to stay away from all these showcase camps because a lot of them were kind of poorly ran money makers. Like you don't get the exposure you think you're going to get,
Yeah.
and to be very, cautious of them. Luckily for me, it was great for me. My agent put me in a very good situation. Like he essentially had pretty much a team in the tournament that was all his guys. So there wasn't like 6 point guards on the team or four. I was getting
It was
good.
balanced.
It was balanced. Everyone was kind of getting their opportunity to showcase themselves, and I think we played like 4 or 5 games. And I played. I played solid. I had like one breakout game against like the one of the better teams there, and I started getting interested in Spain, and that's when my agent came to me with this Saragossa offer. Again, like at the time, I was super excited, of course, to have your name associated with an ACB team. I was like, this will be amazing. If I can play in the ACB, it was a 3-year deal, so I was like, all right, I know they're not going to take me at first, but if in 3 years I'm in the ACB, I'm good. Like that,
Yeah.
that'd be amazing. That's far faster. Um, Projection than I thought I would have. Um, that being said, when I got to Saragossa for preseason, I realized that I wasn't, I was a Saragossa player, but I wasn't like someone they were kind of counting, in the 2 years I was with them, I came for both preseasons just while they needed me, and they never paid me. And then they sold me to Maccabi Haifa when my third year was when I was about to have my third year.
Yeah. So they never paid you.
Mm-mm. I went there early, for preseason because the point guard at the time was I think there was a Eurobasket or a World Cup, so he wasn't there. So they needed another body. Um, and I was basically there for practice for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They put me in an apartment next to the gym. I didn't have a car. I was, first week was really tough. And I was just, practicing. But again, I was excited and happy to be there. The opportunity to play with, this level of talent was an amazing opportunity. And it was also like a rude awakening. You think you're kind of hot shit coming from college. I had a really good career. I was playing, I thought, the best basketball. And like the first couple practices there, I was getting crushed.
Yeah.
I was just not at their level.
And then you got loaned out though, right? During that first stint. What was that like?
Yes. Um, I mean, I was excited to get to the team that I was going to play for. I was um by the after 3 weeks, 4 weeks of getting my ass kicked by like these ACB guys, I was excited to go to like the third division and kind of be a main player again. But it was an amazing experience. In Saragossa, like I said, I was living by myself. I wasn't a true player of them, so like I wasn't didn't have that connection yet with the team. And then when I went to Palma, I had a roommate who was Spanish who really took care of me and helped me out. And I never lived on my own before. I didn't know how to do anything. I wasn't grocery shopping. I wasn't cooking. I wasn't really cleaning.
Yeah.
Like I needed like I needed a lot of help. And this guy his name is Antonio Pantin. We're friends to this day. He came to my wedding in Israel 2 years ago. He kind of took me under his wing, even though he absolutely didn't want to, because he had been playing kind of throughout Spain for, I would say, close to 10 years. So he had it down. And I leaned on him a lot, like those first couple months in Mallorca.
Mhm. Yeah, I've definitely heard this from a lot of people who I've spoken to about like those first couple years as a pro. Like it's not just basketball. Like there is so much more, especially when you're in a country that, there's a language barrier and
Yeah,
yeah,
so I've spoken to a lot of guys who are like, trying to make the transition. They're like, I played college, I want to play pro. What advice do you have? And then I always go back to that. Like the off the court stuff, especially early is for me more important. Like these guys that get these jobs overseas, I believe most of them can play at that level. There
right.
there is, of course, there's a transition. There's definitely a learning curve, and you need to adapt to the style your team is playing into the European game overall. Like there's absolutely stuff on the court that you need to work on, but guys who have good IQs, who have played a lot of basketball, they can typically pick up on it and learn it. I think the more challenging part is handling that off the court transition, being alone for the first time, being in a foreign country for the first time, trying to fulfill your days, not just, do things that, make you happy and make you fulfilled. You don't want to just be kind of moping around your apartment all day till there's practice and then kind of dreading going back to your apartment. And I've definitely been there. I've transitioned, luckily now it's only been two countries, but both times my first couple months I was not happy. I was playing my worst basketball, and it took me some time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think it's just a hard transition generally. Like for people who have identified as athletes throughout their lives and have been very good at basketball and can hang their hat on like, okay, I'm a basketball player. All of a sudden, going into their pro career, like what people don't realize is you're only playing basketball like 2 to 3 hours a day, and then you have the whole rest of the day wide open.
That's
So yeah, it's really this tough. I think for a lot of
Yeah,
people,
you
it's
have
like an identity crisis.
absolutely. You have to, like I said, you have to find ways to fill your days that make you happy. I mean, you can at least for me, I have a really good support system back home. So there's times where I'm talking on the phone with them, and you can, almost feel like you're home for sometimes, but you're gonna inevitably get homesick, and you have to find hobbies outside of the game. Whether it be reading, fish. I don't know what guys decide to do. They get into blogging or podcasting or whatever it is. And that's something I talk about with younger players is when you sign somewhere, which they inevitably do. It's like you want to go there with the goal, or not the goal, but like you have to understand you're going there to live there. You're not just going there to play basketball. You're going there, like, embrace yourself in the culture, get out, meet people, do things outside of the game, do things with people that aren't basketball players, like you would have a regular life if you had a regular job in the States. At the end of the day,
Hmm.
basketball is going to be your work and you're going to need some relief from basketball.
Yeah, right. Which is, yeah, definitely an adjustment. But it seems like, you found this teammate who helped you in Spain, and then I think once you got to Israel, like I'm sure you had similar situations, or like you said, there was probably an adjustment, but it seems like you've landed on your feet.
Yeah.
What were some of the things in that transition that really helped?
I mean, again, I was kind of trying to attach myself to people. Like in Spain, like I told you, this guy Antonio, he wanted to do his own thing and he didn't want to be bothered. And I would just every time he came out for lunch, I would go sit with him. Every time he wanted to do it, like I would ask him to go get coffee. I would ask him to go do things outside the house. Um, and the same thing happened in Israel. At first it kind of took me a little while to, I'm a little more timid, a little, it took me some time to get outside my shell, but there was a veteran on the team named Hanan Coleman, who was Israeli, Danish, American, who I think him and the coach understood that I needed some help and I needed to do things outside of basketball. So, just after practice, going to lunch, going to the beach, again, going to soccer games, finding something to do besides sitting in the apartment thinking about basketball, especially when you're in these I would say like these lower clubs. In the beginning, you're playing once a week, so you really have a lot of free time. You can only work on your game so much. I mean, my coach in Haifa told me, he's like, listen, you gotta get outside the gym. You gotta do something else. He's like, I don't care what you do, have fun, go crazy, go nuts, but forget about basketball for a couple hours. You're putting too much, and he was right. I was putting everything, all your eggs in one basket. I was putting so much pressure on myself because I was
Right.
here to play basketball, and that was the only thing that mattered. And I wasn't enjoying, the other aspects of being, a professional athlete.
Hmm. Yeah, very true. That time, that flexibility. Let's get into your time at Haifa, because you get bought out off your contract from Zaragoza. You signed a
Yeah,
2-year deal. Um, Obviously, you're with, just for people who are not familiar with the Israeli league, you're with Maccabi Tel Aviv now, but that is different than Maccabi Haifa. Like, but
yeah,
they're in the same league. So you were playing your current team, uh, and you actually
yeah,
had a big game against them, I think,
yeah, yeah.
in
I did.
2016.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's everyone makes a joke, like if you play well against them, that's how you get on the team. But yeah, I was in Maccabi Haifa, which again is one of the not is a lower level club than Maccabi Tel Aviv. They play once a week. They only play in the domestic league and the Israeli league. But when you play against the big teams like Maccabi Tel Aviv, it's the best. The gym is full, like the energy. You want to prove yourself against the best players. These are guys that every week I'm watching on TV in the Euroleague, so you get very excited for those games. And like you said, like when you play well against them, it's kind of like your opportunity to prove like maybe I can play on that level.
Yeah, and
Um,
you guys smacked them. I mean, you won 91-56. You scored
I
22.
yeah, I think it was like it was like their worst domestic league loss in their history or something like that.
That's incredible. So that's
Yeah,
definitely one way to get their attention for sure.
yeah,
Um, and then you were named Israeli League MVP. So again, you're saying this is not in the same level as Tel Aviv, but you're in the league you were playing in. Is that right?
it's so like I mean it's the same league as Maccabi Tel Aviv. Maccabi Tel Aviv just plays in two leagues. So like
Th-
every country in Europe has their domestic league, and France has the French league, Italy, Italian league, Spanish ACB, and the top teams from those leagues will play in a European league with the other best teams. Like there's Euroleague, Euro Cup, Champions League, and so forth. So Maccabi Tel Aviv is in the Israeli league, but they also play Euroleague. So yes, when I got MVP, like it was again, it was great for my career and it was great for my resume. And it helped me get the attention of a Maccabi Tel Aviv. I think that was, instrumental in me, after my 2 years in Haifa, having an opportunity and an offer to play for Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Hmm. What else
Yeah.
did you learn in that time with Haifa? I know you mentioned your coach saying like stop focusing only on basketball. What were
hmm
some of the other takeaways that like you look back on those 2 years and kind of remember?
Yeah, so definitely off the court aspect was big. I mean, in Maccabi Haifa, I think credit to this coach, Rami Hadar was his name. He was my coach my first year in Maccabi Haifa. He was very defensive oriented. He was also like very, I would say, strict drill sergeant army type guy, which I didn't know at the time was like it was the best thing for me. Because of playing for him and playing in his system and having those habits that he instilled in me, all of a sudden, as a pro player, I started to get like this reputation of a two-way player. All of a sudden, for the first time in my career, I was considered a good defender. I was an energy guy. Um, and it instilled habits in me then that I still have now that helped me get on the court with Maccabi Tel Aviv. In Maccabi Tel Aviv, I'm far from the most talented player. I'm not the tallest, quickest. I don't even have the highest IQ. A large reason I think why I'm able to get on the floor is, I'm coachable. I listen well. I try my best to minimize my mistakes, and I play with a lot of energy you know and stuff like that. And I think those are things that again I didn't focus as much on in the beginning of my career, whether it be college, because I was relied on more offensively, and even in Spain, I was relied on more offensively. In Maccabi Haifa, it was probably the most talented team I played with at that point in my career. There were a lot of guys who could make plays. So, in order to stay on the floor, I had to make sure I was playing both ends. And all of a sudden, that added another aspect to my game that kind of helped me get to another level.
Yeah. I mean, and just for the record, you did lead the UAA your freshman year in steals. You had 56 steals, which is not too shabby. So,
My sophomore year, I think I wasn't even first on the team though. My best friend Chris, he says he led this. He always tells everyone he led the team in steals.
that's his
So
claim to fame.
I have to give him a shout out. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, teammates will definitely never let you live those things down for sure.
No.
Um, yeah. Well, so again, you as we've established, you impress Tel Aviv, maybe not in ways they would have wanted, um,
hmm
but you again signed a 3-year deal with them. This
Yeah.
time works out a lot better than the 3-year deal with Zaragoza because you jump in, you guys win a trophy, you're named tournament MVP, you're all league. Like, what is that first year like in Tel Aviv and just as your experience as a player?
Yeah. The I was very like the summer going to Maccabi Tel Aviv was a big summer for me. I was very very nervous. And I said I was playing with talent in Maccabi Haifa. It was not nothing, but it was a 2 3 steps when I got to Maccabi Tel Aviv, and not just the level of talent, but the style and the way they play. Um, it was uh, it was definitely a challenge. I played well early in the season, like you said, with the cup. I got an opportunity to play because we had some guys out. But then you hop into like the EuroLeague and the way that they play EuroLeague and Israeli League isn't always the same. And all of a sudden, for pretty much the first time in my career, I'm having games where I play a lot and then games where I don't play very much, and a couple of DMPs there. So playing in Maccabi Tel Aviv for the first year was a huge transition, just in terms of the role I had, and when I talk about the mental challenges, you really Maccabi Tel Aviv really challenged that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we could get into specifics, but I'm curious, like looking back on your career, I just saw this great picture online when I was doing research. You're on the
hmm
court next to your longtime teammate Jake Cohen, and you both have framed jerseys with the number 500 on them.
Yeah.
Um, So I'm assuming that's 500 games, 500
Yeah,
caps for the.
500 games with Maccabi Tel Aviv. Yeah, that was this past season, last season. It was a really special moment, to be honest, and to share it with Jake was awesome. You know, Jake, obviously we've played you know, the most games together than with any other person professionally. You know, Jake is way more than a teammate at this point. You know, me and Jake are great friends, and now we'll be friends for life. You know, he's been a huge. When I say being surrounded by the right people and how important that is, you know, Jake's one of those for me. You know, I when I talk about the challenges of being in Maccabi Tel Aviv, you know, on the court, off the court, would have been way harder to navigate without him.
Yeah. And you were also joined by someone else who was holding the frame with you. Was that your dad in the picture, or was that
Mm-mm.
no?
No. That's let me I think it's Shimon, right? It's a short older gentleman.
Shorter, older gentleman. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the chairman of Maccabi Tel Aviv. He's like a EuroLeague legend, been there for 50 plus years. You know, my wife was working, so she wasn't at the game. We didn't know there was going to be a whole presentation on the floor, otherwise she would have been there. And
Wow.
you know, all my family's in the States, so Jake has his beautiful family with him, and I have the chairman. So it's almost the same.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wanted to ask, but
Yeah.
yeah, pretty special moment. Are there, you know, obviously your career's not done. You're still going strong. You're as we said, you're going in your 13th year. But are there kind of like moments you look back on already at this point and really just kind of say like, wow, that happened, and um,
I mean, I get it all the time now. Like just reflecting on the fact that you know, yeah, I get it randomly during you know a workout or a practice. I just maybe it's because I'm getting older and I kind of sense the end of my career is coming. Just moments of like a lot of gratitude, to be honest. You know, whether I'm on the floor working and sometimes I can't believe I'm still working on these free throws like I did when I was, you know, 13, 4, you know what I mean? It's like I go through those a lot of times, especially recently. Um, but I mean, there's so many moments. I mean, I feel like now, you know, every opportunity, every day I get a chance to play, you know, this game for my job and in front of fans and at the level of some of these guys, you know, I mean, this year especially, you know, there's so much talent on this team. There's nobody, not one of my teammates is in their 30s. So the opportunity to, you know, to be playing with guys of this level, this caliber, and um, you know, I really feel I feel lucky, and I'm really happy that I'm still doing it, and I want to continue to do it. You know, we talk about identity crisis. I think, you know, it's going to be a tough, a tough transition for me after basketball. So at the moment, I'm just trying to enjoy every day. You know, even the days where I don't want to practice or I'm tired and I don't want to go through you know, the routine, my off day routines or my morning routines. Just trying to enjoy them and feel like I'm lucky that I get to do this, and lucky that I have to do these morning routines and these morning stretches and these ice baths and these recoveries and these trips to play games.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, with maybe into a little more of like a some technical advice for the next generation that you mentioned you've been helping people out, and in the same way that guys like Will Hanley helped you when you were in college. I think there is like a network of within the D3 hoops community, like people are very willing if you reach out and to share that
Oh,
advice and chat.
absolutely. I mean, I think it's key to reach out and talk to people. I mean, I don't end up where I am without, you know, like I said, my friends, my connections, my family, you know, everyone kind of helped out. And as you start talking to people, you realize how small all their circles are. Like I spoke to Will Hanley, he got me my first agent, essentially led to my first job in Spain. When I was in Spain, I spoke to Willie Workman, who was another D3 guy, played at Amherst, and
Yep.
he was one of the main reasons I was comfortable enough to come to Israel because I had a lot of reservation. My family, me, we were really nervous about going to play in Israel. I'd never been to Israel before. I didn't know if I could see myself living there. And talking to Willie and talking to his wife um, really kind of helped me at least get me out here and get a tryout and see if I could make the transition. But again, like if I don't reach out to Willie, I don't know if I'd take the flight to Israel because it's just, I had another opportunity to play another year in Mallorca and maybe I just would have stayed there because I loved living there. I loved the culture and I was really comfortable. Um, so definitely it's important to use the resources. And again, like I said, everyone kind of knows everyone in these circles, and it's important to get like a different perspectives because everyone has a different journey, everyone has a different kind of story, and everyone's journey is different, and it's gonna you can learn from everyone's story, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Tough. I'm sure it was tough to leave Mallorca. That's
Yeah, I've been back. I've been back since then.
yeah, yeah,
My
but
my my Mallorca is amazing. But again, I think I was rewarded because I had such a good attitude those years in Rochester. Since then I've lived on the Mediterranean my whole career. So
yeah, that's right.
I think I put the work in, and now it's the karma thing.
Yeah, there you go. D3 recruits listening to this, you just you gotta
You
pay
got to
your
stick it
dues
out.
in the snow, and then you get to live in the
Yeah,
Mediterranean. So
yeah, exactly. And it's a smile through it and enjoy it.
yeah. Just one Willie Workman note, real quick. When I was, on YouTube, and I saw there's a great clip of you, kind of no look passing to him back in like 2018. So not only does he help you out, but you get to become his teammate at Haifa. Thought that was pretty cool. Just
Yeah,
to
we were
know.
we were we were so excited, and that team we had like a rocky year, but then towards the end we kind of hit our stride, and it was what one of the best years I think for both of us. We finished the season, we snuck into the playoffs, and then we upset the one seed, in the which had never happened before, and then we played Maccabi Tel Aviv in the semifinal. We beat them, and I want to say like a week later I was meeting with the with the management to sign a new contract. So Willie can take
Yeah,
credit for that. Willie can help take credit for that one too.
that's right. Just like your teammate took credit for his steals, Cal
E-
Willie will, I'm sure, take
Exactly.
credit for your whole career.
Oh, he does. He does. We
Yeah,
talk about it all the time. Me and Willie are still close. He's at my house almost every weekend.
yeah. Something I want to just tap in on because it is big for guys that maybe want to play abroad. You
Hmm.
have an Israeli passport. Uh,
Yes.
what has that done for your career? Like, and yeah, just talk about that.
It helped tremendous. It's helped tremendously. That was a big reason why I ended up coming here. I mean, I stayed because I loved it. I met my wife here. She's Israeli. Like, there's a lot of things that keep me here now. Um, but I mean, that was also part of the reason why Saragossa wanted me. The whole idea was I was going to go there on loan and I was going to try to get my Italian citizenship. And hopefully, if I got that, I was going to play for them in the ACB. That was my thinking. I think that's what they thought as well. But you know, when you just have the American passport, the competition, the job market is much tougher. You're competing with some of the highest level players for sure, but also there's just less roster spots per team. So if you have a European passport, Israeli passport, it gives you it opens up a couple more slots on each team where you can possibly get your foot in the door. So that was a large reason for me coming to Israel in the first place. My agent found out that my mom was Jewish, and through Aliyah, I can come to Israel and play as a local player. Um, at the
Can
time
you
when I was
explain that just for people that aren't familiar? What is Aliyah?
It's like every Jewish person in the world right of return. So if you're Jewish, you can come, move, live in Israel. You have to come to live here, and you can be a citizen. They offer like a lot of benefits and Hebrew lessons, some like financial aid, kind of anything to get you started because they want all the Jewish people to come to Israel. Um, that's more or less. So when I found out, I could do it, it was a pretty, I would say it was a pretty simple process. I found out towards the end of my season in Spain. I went and I did stuff at the consulate over the summer. And when I got here at the end of August, so it was a couple month process, I was able to play as a local player. And again, at the time in the Israeli league, two Israelis had to be on the floor at all times. So all of a sudden, you know, there's a lot of spots where I, instead of competing for Americans on these spots, I was competing with Israelis
Right.
on these spots.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's something other D3 guys have, obviously we talked about Willie Workman playing uh, in the Israeli league, but I think there's a
Hmm.
guy, Daniel Baum, who went to Pomona, who I'd have to check.
Yeah, Daniel Rosenbaum. Yeah,
Daniel Rosenbaum. Thank you.
Spencer Weiss. He played at Princeton. There's a JJ Kaplan. I think he played somewhere in. I don't know if he's D3 actually, but there is a fair amount now of like when I came, there was Willie, there was uh there was a couple others. Maybe it's just because I've been here long, like for a while now, and I know more people. But I do feel like there is a large amount of Jewish American players who have come over, and are having really really nice careers.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So definitely something, not everyone is going to be lucky enough to have an Italian dad and a Jewish mom that can give
No,
them two routes to European citizenship, but
yes,
um, definitely something to consider for listeners who want to go play pro. It's like think about family history and where that could maybe help you get a spot that, like John mentioned, you don't have to compete against import um,
absolutely.
slots.
It's one of the first things my agent talked to me about when he decided to take me. It
Yeah.
was he asked me about my last name and if I can get citizenship, and and at first I was like, yeah, I think I can. Blah blah blah. I didn't do any research because I wanted him to work with me. At the end of the day, I couldn't get the Italian one, so we went the other route. But it is something a hiring agent will definitely help with.
Yeah. 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 Just closing things out here. You mentioned meeting your wife. I saw a great interview again in preparation for this, where you're getting interviewed in the Tel Aviv locker room, and the guy's like, "What's your favorite thing about about playing here?" And you're like, "Tel Aviv, the city." And he asked how your Hebrew's coming along. So I just wanted to check in. I think that was 6 years ago. How's your Hebrew
It's
now?
still very, very low level. I did do like a beginner Opon, so I learned to read and write, which helped me a lot. Like I came here with zero, like so until I learned. I'm very visual, so until I learned the alphabet, I couldn't retain anything. So
Hmm.
I've gotten better in the last couple of years. I'm still very bad for being 10 years here. Um, my wife is Israeli. She speaks very good English, so a large amount of responsibility, I believe, falls on her, and I think a lot of it is her fault for enabling me and not teaching me. I think between the two things, her speaking great English and her also being a terrible Hebrew teacher, have contributed to my lack of ability.
That's
But
right.
being in Israel, like you can really get away with it. Like everyone around sports in Israel, especially basketball, speaks English. Like when I played in Spain, I was second year. I was no translator. I was speaking pretty good Spanish. I can get around by myself. So it's not. I don't think it's completely my fault.
Yeah, there you go. You have a previous case study to lean on.
That's what I'm saying. Like I can do it. Not everyone can get language. I can get language.
There
Hebrew's
you
just
go.
really hard, and I have too many bad influences around me.
That's right. That's right. Oh man. Well, yeah, this has been great. I think just kind of any closing thoughts. Obviously, are you still playing on the Israeli national team? Is that
No, I mean I would love to. They so for the Israeli national, you can only take one naturalized Israeli, which is someone
mm,
like me, not Israeli born Israeli, Israel born Israeli. Uh, and the spot did not go to me this recently.
that's fair.
Um, yeah, so I got my experience. I would have loved to play a bit more with them. I would have loved to do like a Eurobasket or World Cup. Like that'd be an amazing experience, I'm sure. But it's competition. What can you do?
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. Um, yeah. All right. Well, we'll ask the last question we ask every guest. If you
Hmm.
could go back and chat with your 18-year-old self, so it's back at Staples High School in Connecticut, what advice are you giving that version of John?
What? Uh, just enjoy the ride, enjoy college, uh, enjoy everything about it. I just embrace it every day. I think a lot of times when you're younger, you're so. I mean, at least me, you're like thinking about the future. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And those years, like those that 18 to 22, those college years, um, were really some of the best times. I've had an amazing pro experience, and I've done things that I never thought I would do. But in a heartbeat, I think I would give all that up to go back and do another 4 years of college and really embrace every day and enjoy going through um, the life and the challenges of being a student athlete. It's some I think the best and most exciting time in your life. So I wouldn't give myself any like crazy advice, do this differently, do that, because I loved my whole experience, and I'm grateful for what it was.
Yeah. Well, John, we're grateful for you taking the time out of your busy schedule ahead of this next season, and we'll definitely be tuning in to see how y'all do in Euro Cup in the domestic league, and yeah, man, just everything that's to come.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and it's really nice. I was looking at what you're doing lately. I think it's great and it's really helpful. I know me navigating the recruiting process and all that when I was a senior in high school. Me and my family had no idea what we were doing. We were we were just kind of taking it day by day. I think some people have the experience and some don't, but when you don't, you really have no idea kind of the direction to take it in and what to look for in schools and what to look for in coaches and all that. So I think it's good work you're doing. So keep it
Thanks.
up.
Appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I'm just trying to build the resource I wish I would have had too, because I also had to figure it out. So
For sure. And I think D3 is an amazing option for so many people, and that, for a while it got like this rep that it was lesser. I think it's kind of changing. People understand that there's a lot of, amazing options at the Division 3 level and amazing players. So I think you're hitting it at a good time where you can really help a lot of good, promising young players.
for sure. Well, I mean, it helps to have people like yourself to point to say this is what D3 can look like. So
Right, right.
yeah. Well, John, thank you again.
Of
Just wrap
course.
it up. This has been another episode of the Student Athlete Sessions. You can always check out previous episodes on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen, and we'll post the full interview on YouTube as well. And um, yeah, let us know who you want us to interview next. Thanks again, John.
Thank you.